It's not about the quality of your words, it's about the quality of the persuasion that you can convey, the architecture of belief that you can create. Go back through your email and look at everything that you've bought online in the last 90 days, and then trace back to the landing page or the email that sparked the interaction that led to you making that purchase, and study that experience. If you got hit by a truck and you're out there in the ditch and you have a chance to sing one song that truly tells people what you think about your time on this earth, would you sing those old gospel songs the same way we hear them sung, or would you sing something different? Because that's what truly moves people. Mentally, if you can't get to the position where you're like, this is what I have to say, this is how the strong conviction that I have for this idea, this is how important it is to me, and this is how I think it could benefit this business, and that's what I'm going to prove to them, don't send the email. When you're in that position and that's clear in your head, write me 5 lines, send them to me, off we go.
Aaron, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, everybody. Everybody, hello. Welcome to another Copy That podcast. I'm here with Aaron Gentzler, the CMO of Mauldin Economics, former publisher and copy chief for Seven Figure Publishing at an imprint of Agora Financial. And how long have you actually been doing copy? About 20 years, right?
Almost, yeah. 2006, I started, answered an advertisement in the Baltimore City paper, came in as a junior copywriter. Took 2 years to put a package in the mail, but then things started to come together, things took off, and here I am. It's the only job I've had since.
Right on. And so one of the things that a lot of people have in their mind is that financial is sort of the top of the mountain. They have in their head the notion that the financial niche is where they want to be because that's where the most money is, that's where the most excitement is. Would you say that that's true in your experience, or is there a different narrative that you want to talk about there?
That's a good question. I've probably spent 90% of my career in financial. I've done moonlighting in some other niches. As to the most money, top of the mountain, maybe. If you're good and you're in financial for the right reasons and you're truly passionate about the ideas and you find yourself in a moment in time where you're connected with a guru and a silo of products that makes sense for your skill set and you're operating at the highest level, yeah, financial can be incredibly rewarding, and I would say it is the top of the mountain. If you're with gurus who don't have highest level expertise or USPs that aren't quite clicking for what the market needs right now, financial can be just as difficult as some of the most difficult niches out there. So again, I don't mean to dodge the question, but I've personally tremendously enjoyed my experience in financial. So yeah, I would recommend anyone who's out there who's trying to enter the business, or they're emerging as a writer, they're building tools, building a skill set, they're putting a portfolio together. They don't know much about financial, but they're like, I could be interested in this niche. Absolutely, give it a try. Reach out to some of the biggest names, the biggest players, and see if you can get yourself embedded in those businesses. Everybody should pay attention to it because of all those upside reasons that you mentioned. But I mean, you can still go wrong 1,000 ways, like you can with anything else.
Well, let's unpack a few things there, because one of the most common questions that I get from new copywriters is, well, if financial is that top of the mountain, how do I even get in? How do I break into this?
Yeah.
What is the best way to do it? You mentioned, starting a portfolio. You mentioned, hitting the pavement, talking to people, going to events.
Yeah.
What advice? And this specifically, I'm leading with this because I want to try to help as many newbies as possible.
Sure.
What advice would you give to people if they want to actually get started in financial copywriting?
It's not about the quality of your words. It's about the quality of the persuasion that you can convey, the architecture of belief that you can create, right? So putting financial as a niche, putting financial expertise or knowledge aside for a second, for a newbie who's like, I want to approach the industry, I want to approach financial publishing and see if I can be successful here. Go back through your email and look at everything that you've bought online in the last 90 days, and then trace back to the landing page or the email that sparked the interaction that led to you making that purchase, and study that experience. Then immerse yourself in financial products that you're passionate about. If you're a Bitcoin person, a crypto person, go find and read free content in the financial niche around as many crypto products as possible. The architecture that you see for purchases that you've made, whatever, the camping supplies or auto parts or whatever you've purchased, right? try to mimic that architecture through the thing that you're passionate about in financial, right? So now you can start writing some emails. Maybe you can write some ad copy, some small stuff, some secondary copy, not full-blown packages, right? But you're starting to build some facility with what it takes to put those ideas out there. Do that for a while. You need those reps, right? Move on to longer and longer copy. Get yourself on seed lists. Get a burner account. Start reading as much copy as possible. For many years, I was a huge advocate in printing out. This came from Joe Schriefer and the AF guys years ago. Take a promotion that you received from a seed list that you're now a part of, print it out and mark it up. Mark up, as Kyle would call it, right? You just spoke to him recently, the beats of a sales letter, right? Mm-hmm. The movements of the copy, the subhead structure. How does one piece, convey to the next? Mark up that printout that you've made. Then the second step is write the whole promo out by hand on legal pads, right? You're starting to build some muscle memory, not only in dissecting what makes a piece of copy work, but you're starting to build muscle memory in how does one piece connect to the next. Start playing around with some ideas, right? Start writing alternate on packages that you receive out of your seed account. Start writing some alternate headlines and leads. Come up with your own ideas, right? You get those reps. Do something small. Get involved with a business, right? You're cold pitching people, things like that. So this is all like a long answer, but those are some of the things I would do if I was like, I want to be involved in this industry. I want to give this niche a chance, but I don't know how to get started. Start at ground zero. Think about the things that you've purchased, and then try to mimic that architecture over into packages, ideas, silos in financial that you yourself are passionate about.
I do want to unpack a few things that you said there, because I am familiar with, and over the past few years have become more and more familiar with, like, the objections that newbie copywriters have.
Yeah.
And so the immediate questions that come to my mind through their eyes are going to be, what do you mean by architecture? What do you mean by idea? What are we even talking about when it comes to an idea in financial? Uh-huh. We need to like break it down to like the most basic.
I got it. All right. What I think I said, architecture of persuasion.
Mm-hmm. Which is a book from Michael Masterson, aka Mark Ford.
If I make a claim, if I tell you that XYZ investment opportunity has transformational return potential, and with anything that we see, what needs to be true for me to give you another 20 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that claim has to be credible. It has to have authority. There's proof involved, right? And so we could talk about like picture, promise, proof, push, the 4 U's, right? This is territory that I know that you cover.
Yeah.
But what needs to be true for me to take the next step? What belief needs to lead to the next belief to give you another 20 seconds on that page or in that VSL, right? That's what I mean when I say architecture. All the way through in the close, how do I reverse the risk? What happens if I try this and I find out that it is not right for me? Well, here's our guarantee terms, right? That's one of the last structures of belief that need to be in place before I'm truly ready to purchase, right? Mm-hmm. So an idea. All right, so that's we'll put that as architecture for right now. What's an idea? An idea is, it has to be true to the guru. It has to be true to the business in which it exists. It has to be true to so this is the study that you're doing through the free lists or the promotions. Or spend $49. Buy an entry level product in financial or whatever niche, right? Learn about things. Take the research that you receive, take it a step further, right? Google exists. Use it to your advantage, right? Mm-hmm. That's a good thing that anybody can do, regardless of what your knowledge level is. So then, how do I put myself in a position where the thinking or the research that I've done could be valuable to this business, could be valuable to this guru to take a new or a fresher idea forward to their audience? Well, now you might be ready to make a pitch. Now you might be ready to approach that guru or approach their publisher and help them show something new. How's that?
I think that was a spectacular answer. One of the recommendations I've been making to a lot of people, especially people that want to cold pitch to financial publishers, has been to not only to familiarize yourself with financial copy, but also to, the first thing that you should do is try to work out a lead and write a really good lead to a sales letter, either a re-lead, and use that basically like almost like blackmail or a ransom. Send that to a publisher, send that to a copy chief, and be like, hey, do you want me to finish this? Well, pay me, or let's have a conversation about it. Yep. Would you say that that's a good way to actually crack in?
Yeah, I get quite a few cold emails, and they fall into two buckets: terrible and not. Basically, terrible is focused on the person who's sending me the email. I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have a good back. It's a list of reasons why I'm not going, right? Don't write that email. A really good cold email to me is about 3 lines long, right? Here's why I'm reaching out to you today. Here's what I think my research and my experience could provide to you and your business, right? Here's how you can contact me, and here's suggested next steps for this small GDoc that I attached, showing you an early draft of, like you just said, like here's my sample lead. Make me want to actually reply to you in the positive and not say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not taking on freelancers right now. We're booked up through the end of the second quarter. It's so easy for me to send that email and reply, right? And I'm looking for a reason to just be like, no, right? Talk about yourself. Don't point it at me or my business, right? Basically just check off a bunch of reasons why you're not going to be useful to my business, and then that makes it very easy for me. Make it hard for me to say no. Think about it in those terms before you write that cold email.
Yeah. Oh, what's the line from Dan Kennedy? Don't sell from your back foot.
Right, yeah. You're going to send an email. You're trying to get a job. You're trying to get paid. You're trying to come up in a business. You're trying to push your ideas forward. Do it. Actually come forward with your idea and be strong about it, yeah. Be direct. Like, don't... I get cold pitches too. Sorry, now I'm off.
No, please. So a lot of the people watching are actually people that are actively invested and interested in cold pitching businesses. But a lot of people, they don't have very many opportunities to actually hear how their cold pitches are being received on the other end. They don't understand why it's not working.
Do you remember, don't put a policeman in an automobile, put a cop in a car? Don't say in 5 words what you can say in 3. Don't use 5 syllables when you can use 3. Your pitch emails should mirror that structure, right? Be direct. Be focused on providing value. There cannot be a sense of neediness in a good cold email. Here's what I've uncovered. Here's the research that I've already conducted. Here's what I'm prepared to do. I'm available for a further conversation at such and such a time or at your convenience. Thank you, Aaron. I'd love to talk more. Boom, done. Like I said, 5 sentences, is a good cold email. Make me want to say yes to you.
Yeah,
and then there's good ones. The second step is there's good cold emails that lead to a 30-minute Zoom call, and then the whole thing still goes sideways because you poured everything into the half a page that you sent me, or the 2 pages, or the headline lead and 250 words, right? And I'll evaluate that on the 4 U's, classic structures, right? Of course, I know you talk about that. And then we get on the phone, and I'm like, okay, talk to me a little bit more about what your research is showing. How much more I don't need to see fleshed out copy, but where else does your outline take you? How far? Well, I haven't done anything with it yet. Or I talked to so-and-so, you're multiply pitching this different places, which is fine. I don't care. I'll pay for it if I want it, right? But, it's different. And I find out that all the work went into what you sent me originally, and there's nothing else behind it. Bad news. We're not going to go further.
Yeah. It's like a skirt. It has to be long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to keep it interesting. Yeah. And there has to be something else beyond that too.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
One of the things that you actually teased out that I've actually been saying to newbies for a lot of years has been people somehow, for whatever reason, treat their outreach as somehow separate from copy. But it's not.
It is, yeah.
Ultimately, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of the logic that you just sort of described is the same logic as actually selling a product.
Right.
Or getting somebody to click on something, getting somebody to read something.
Yeah. Your CTA is, let's do a Zoom. Let's get on the phone. Let's have a conversation, right? And if you can't do that to me, just to have a secondary conversation with you, how am I supposed to believe that you're going to be able to put together a 75-minute VSL? We're going to dump all these resources into its production, right? We're going to put a month of development time and work into this. How am I supposed to believe that you can then achieve conversion?
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time on those emails too. And if it feels strange or uncomfortable or scary, don't send them, because they have to be, you have to movie references. I think in terms of
That's fine.
Sam Phillips, Johnny Cash, Walk the Line, right? He's pitching them. He's there with the band, and they sing all the old gospel songs that everybody's singing. And Sam Phillips says to Johnny Cash and his guys, he's like, but he's like, if you were out, you got hit by a truck and you're out there in the ditch and you have a chance to sing one song that truly tells people what you think about your time on this earth, would you sing those old gospel songs the same way we hear them sung, or would you sing something different? Because that's what truly moves people, right? mentally, if you can't get to the position where you're like, this is what I have to say, this is how strong, the strong conviction that I have for this idea, this is how important it is to me, and this is how I think it could benefit this business, and that's what I'm going to prove to them, don't send the email. When you're in that position and that's clear in your head, write me 5 lines, send them to me, off we go.
Nice. By the way, that's very, very good advice, and you should follow it. You heard it here first on Copy That. Thank you, Aaron, for that. It's one of those things where it's like it's the idea that I'm trying to proselytize out into the world is only validated once I actually have somebody.
I'm happy to carry the torch. Thank you. I'm happy to be here for it.
Thank you, Prometheus. So you've alluded to a few of the actual answers to this question, and I know the answers to this question, but I'm going to pretend that I basically have lost my memory and I have no knowledge. But moving past all the reasons that you've alluded to and possibly including them, why is getting into financial publishing so competitive? Why is it so difficult to crack into this business?
Because we don't, well, there's a couple ways to go about that one.
Be as truthful as your heart will allow you to be.
We don't need more shitheads. We need more good people. We need more people who put the...
Yep, just let it out.
We need more people who put the customer truly first. The work that was done in the industry in the aftermath of 2008, 2009 that helped people recover, helped people it was devastating. The financial publishing industry, the good stuff helped, and it helped people recover. It helped people get back on track. The people who want to do well for themselves, of course, we all do, by doing well for customers in robust businesses that have stood the test of time, are the people that we want to work with. Fly by night, collect as big a pile of cash as quickly as possible so I can, move to wherever and, drink Mai Tais all day, every day. Like, that's great. Like, but you can, go do that someplace else. Go do that, financial doesn't need more of that, in my opinion.
Why? Why do you think that?
Joe, I'll quote Joe again too. He said, we have a lot of people in financial publishing who, he got a letter one time where this guy's like, it was an income product or something. I forget what the feedback was. You probably heard this. Mm-hmm. Half of my shit, it's going to be old hat for you,
but they have not. So.
That's true. Yeah. Joe gets this letter and he's like, this guy's like, I need dividend income right now. I'm so old, I don't even buy green bananas. Right. So you're talking about like the downside to inauthenticity or poorly conceived products and offers is catastrophic in financial. Mm-hmm. I'm a big golfer. I love golf. Yeah. Right. I respond to the info product, or I buy a golf club and it don't work out and I return it. Right. It's not a catastrophic. Right.
Yeah.
The downside to being irresponsible or long-term incorrect in financial publishing can be catastrophic for people. And that's a responsibility. And yes, there's ideas that work out. There's ideas that don't. There's radical transparency. There's correct fulfillment and retention procedures that need to be put in place to make sure that that business is insulated from the inevitable ups and downs of the market. No one is always going to have that correct. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, financial is so important to the people on the other side as an industry when it's done correctly, that we have to approach it with that seriousness, and the cowboy mentality has no place in this business. I don't know. That's, I've probably sacrificed opportunity over the years, to be completely honest with you, because, but I don't know. That's always where I've come from. And those are the ideas that I want to collect. Those are the people that I want to associate with. Those are the people that I want to work with. Because I don't know. I don't want to go off the reservation, but
that's what this space is for. Noah, our lovely editor, will if it goes too far off the res, then we can sort of bring it back into.
Yeah, I've always kind of had a rule that I like to sleep at night, and
why?
I want to work with people who will never make it hard for me to sleep at night.
Yeah. In my experience in financial, I have definitely found that, that has been the case, that a lot of the people that want to get in, they want to get in because they're attracted to the possible paycheck. But it's a high stakes, high reward game. And the actual game that you play is with other people's money and other people's future. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the trade-off, especially if you're too cavalier about that covenant that you have with the customer, you know, yeah, that can line your pockets, but
that is a very succinct and I think beautiful way to put what I just said, which took me a couple minutes. It's a covenant. It's a sacred. That's all business interaction should be, right? Not just financial. Like if you're in a position to sell and you can't take the true needs and position of the customer seriously, you probably should not be in sales. I mean, I'll say that as a blanket statement because that's how I've always approached it.
So, sort of touching on something that you just mentioned, you sort of brought up the long-term consequences of being wrong or selling people too hyperbolically in the financial space. And sort of touching on that, I wanted to ask you about the recent, as of 2024, the pullback in the financial publishing, not only the business, but also, what precipitated that, and then also why that business was caught basically with their pants down around like 2022, the pullback in the market there.
Yep. As to hyperbole, as promises get bigger, you eventually get to a point where you're publishing unfulfillable promises, despite the best efforts of everyone in editorial, your guru, your fulfillment structures, these things. And then that leads nowhere good. So that solves hyperbole and why that isn't a good long-term strategy. As to 2022, ZIRP ending, the market that we had coming out of the financial crisis, we had 10 plus years of zero interest rate policy. Money was very cheap. I could get a mortgage for 2.75%. You could walk onto any auto dealership lot, right? So ZIRP ends. Coming out of COVID lockdowns, we have supply chain shocks, which send ripple effects through the S&P 500 because previously reliable companies that were the bedrock of the market suddenly all of a sudden can't get enough product in the stores, and you try to buy a car. Plus, we have a rising interest rate environment. All three of those things, kind of like coming out of COVID, supply chain, interest rate environment changing. That all kind of came together quickly, terrible effect in the market. And my own personal opinion is that the industry may have had a hard time with that because in a lot of ways, everything that had been true for a decade plus, suddenly within one quarter was radically different, right? Mm-hmm. So how quickly do we respond? How quickly do we pivot to the offers and the fulfillment structures that are going to serve the new market reality, the new economic reality that people were facing? And it was, we had the whole you couldn't go to a restaurant there for a while because nobody wants to work anymore, and it was so it was so hard to it was just like these unexpected second order consequences between the end of ZIRP, coming out of COVID, what was happening in the economy. I think it caught the consumer off guard. It certainly caught the markets off guard. I mean, 22 was a disaster, absolute disaster, and I think it took the industry some time to adjust.
I have a theory about that, and I want to run this by you. Mm-hmm. So, just sort of on the same notes as what you're just saying, from what I know about financial analysis, having written financial editorial and done equity analysis for a number of years at this point, being long-term wrong on the bearish side, like betting that stocks are going to go down, has far more severe consequences for readers than being wrong on the bullish side. Because if you're bullish and you do pick a stock that goes sideways, 9 times out of 10 we're talking about a 10 to 20% drop. Like, that's the most. Whereas if you're on the bearish side, there is only a finite number of ways that you can actually bet against commodities or stocks or bonds. And the risk is either absolute or asymmetric. Not only can you lose everything that you bet against the stock, but you can lose far more than you actually bet if you short something.
Yeah. What's a good example? NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a good example. NVIDIA has been, and I get the valuation argument. And I'm not the guru. I'm not the expert. I'm just the guy behind the guy when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like the collapse case for NVIDIA, the this can't go on case for NVIDIA is what, 2+, 3+ years old. I mean, it's gone in cycles, right? I mean, NVIDIA was a darling 6 years ago, like GPUs for all sorts. Anyhow, but like yeah, NVIDIA is going to get cut at some point. It's gonna be terrible. But I want to be in that trade until that trade very demonstrably stops working. I don't want to be the guy who's like, this trade's going to stop working, and someday I'm going to say, I told you so. Like, you're going to get your face ripped off, right? And anyone who's been short NVIDIA for any period of time, that's exactly the result that they've received. And again, you take that, and that's just one name. You go all the way out to the broader market, like, and you got to be intelligent, and that's where allocation. And again, these aren't my specialties, but like, be smart about how you do it, but be long change and innovation and opportunity, right? Because that's where tomorrow is.
But I want to yoke that back to the actual business of financial publishing and like how it affects copywriters too, because over the the 12 years leading up to 2022, like you said, there was zero interest rates. Like, it was foolish to bet against the markets and things like that. Like, all you needed to do was put out a promo that said, there was going to be a third Trump super boom, and then, hey presto, like, people were going to make money. And that's all you needed to do to sell a financial product. And then 2022 happens, and then it became so much more difficult. And by that time, almost every single publisher I know had let go of their bearish gurus, the actual experts. And, I can just run through the names of like products and stuff that got cut over the 12 years that these people were wrong.
Yeah.
And, they were cut for good business reasons. Like, their products couldn't sell because we were in the biggest bull market in history. Yeah. And the consequences of being wrong on the bearish side are way bigger than being wrong on the bullish side. Yeah. And then, why would a business want to keep paying for a product to keep publishing a product that isn't selling?
Well, that's cycles, though. Like, your business has to be robust enough in structure that you just backbench those guys until because it's up, and like the wheel spins, right? Yeah. At different speeds, but the wheel spins over time, and you need to be nimble. You need to be ready with those offers when that bell rings. And I think we all know, the silos and the products that we're talking about that have been phenomenally successful in financial, specifically in the last 18 months, because they made smart decisions, and they were in a position to take advantage of that, and they didn't get caught in that situation that you're describing.
Yeah. Basically, what I saw happen was a lot of publishing companies, the hog got really fat, and they kept cutting anything that would make their bench more robust or protect them from that natural change in the cycle. Yep. And then we're also talking about a span of 12 years. Man, motherfucker, like, all the copywriters who knew how to write bearish copy in 2010 either moved on, retired, or forgot how to do that well. Yeah. And so we got into I'm sure you can think of specific examples. Yeah. And so, like, we get to 2022, and all of a sudden everybody's just like, this will pass. And it didn't. Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hell of a thing.
But I mean, in terms of either from the business perspective or the copywriting perspective, how can we translate that into advice?
If I'm a copywriter, especially a newer or an emerging copywriter listening to us retell like 22 to now, if you're in it, work hard to be in it to win it. I talked earlier about allowing your energy for ideas to go where your passion truly lies. If I'm all about crypto, those are the ideas that I want to pitch. Those are the products that I want to be associated with. But after you get really good at crypto and you're working with a publisher, you're putting ideas out in crypto, go to the next closest thing. Go to tech, right? Write some tech packages. After you get that under your belt and you understand the mechanics of tech a little bit, go to income. Learn income really well, right? Be robust in the skill set so that you can be more valuable to your reader. You can be more valuable to the business that you're a part of when that cycle turns, when that wheel turns over. And nobody's perfect. Like, nobody's 100% across the board in every silo, in every franchise inside financial. But do the work to have as broad a skill set as you possibly can. It's going to serve you better. It's going to serve the customers better. And if there were more, I don't want to say anything bad, but like, if there were more people with skill sets like that, I'd include myself in that too. Like, I'm not a great macro writer. I never have been, right? I don't share that worldview in a lot of ways, right? But if there were more writers with a more diverse skill set like that, like some businesses probably would have been able to respond quicker in 22, like you're talking about.
So that takes me to the next piece of advice that I want to give to, especially to people trying to crack into financial copywriting. Should a newbie start with front end or back end packages, and why? I've actually gotten different answers from different people.
I'm gonna say back end, and I'll tell you why. I would say back end because that's where I started myself. That was the path, and I had failed front ends that I'd written before I had my first back end hit. Not failed, like I put like one or two in the mail, but literally in the mail. That's the time we're talking about. But back end, you're dealing with a different customer. You're dealing with a different set of skepticisms. You higher awareness, someone who's already familiar with the mechanics of the business. And not to say that the sale is easier, because it isn't, because every sale has its own architecture, like I talked about earlier. But you're going to stand a better chance talking to a more aware customer and helping them take a positive relationship, a positive experience to the next level than you are everything else being equal, right? Depending upon the timing and the offer and the state of traffic, etc. Like you could be successful out of the gate with a front end offer, sure. But everything else being equal for those factors that I just talked about, I would start with a back end.
I've heard Jed Canty say basically the same thing and make the exact same argument.
Yeah, to me it was like it's easier to funnel demand than it is to go create it or find it.
Yeah, or manifest it out of the ether. On a personal note, what is your favorite project that you ever wrote on? Favorite idea that you ever actually executed on?
Oh man,
doesn't have to be your best.
I had so much fun with Ray doing the early cannabis.
Ray Blanco.
Yeah, that guy's like a brother to me. I love that guy so much. I just talked to him a couple weeks ago. When it was clicking, like me, I was like Miami Vice. Me and him, like running around, like meeting companies and looking at ideas and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I could come up with all these great I don't know. It's just I remember those projects. I remember those ideas. I remember that time so fondly. God, that was so much fun. Years before, actually, that's how I came to meet Ray and work with Ray. But writer Patrick Cox and I, same thing. Like I have so much respect for that guy and the ideas that he came up with and the stories that he told and the depth of the research. And I was just so into it. And I was like, I felt like I was learning things that came true. I mean, they were talking about chemotherapy when it was fundamentally, it was like bench science. It wasn't even right. And now we have Opdivo and Keytruda and all these things. And Jimmy Carter lived, whatever, the science aspect to so many of those stories. God, that was so much fun. I remember those so fondly.
On the flip side of that, what project did you work on that you liked the least but worked?
That I liked the least that worked. God, that's a good question. Dealing with assholes, probably. Like the editor, like it worked, but the editor was an asshole, made everything difficult, had a me attitude. Not just myself, but for people in the business. There's to support people in the business who are there to make their ideas successful, right? And if you treat those people poorly, not only do I not want to work with you again, but I'm much less invested in your success. So yeah, dealing with shitheads, whether if it worked or not, because I knew that if in our circle, in our business unit, I couldn't trust this person to be 100% or to do the right thing. How can I trust them to take that forward for the reader's benefit for the long term? Yeah, I remember a couple of those, more than a couple, but But then later, this was like Mike Pizzo and I used to talk about stuff like this, like only work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're hiring a proofer or if you're negotiating with a guru. Only hire people, work with people that give you good vibes. right? That you trust and you genuinely like them, right? Because you can work on how good a guru is on camera, right? You can work on there's so many of these different things like with reps and practice and investment in people and processes. So much is improvable, right? But if it comes down to trust and vibes and like a connection, like if I have that with somebody around a team, well, I'm pretty confident that we can translate that. And if you don't, it's a red flag. Those are the people you don't want to work with.
Nice. I think that goes for people not only on the hiring side, but people also on the trying to get a job side as well.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is like if you find yourself not liking the vibe of the place that's trying to hire you or that you want to get hired by,
Yeah.
you probably just walk away.
I said on that point specifically, I forget what interview it was, but within recent months, somebody asked me a similar question, and I said, if you're trying to get your foot in the door, if you're cold, if you're going 0 to 1, and you get I don't know how you feel about this. I know and I'm happy to listen to other viewpoints, but if you're asked to do something for free on one time, and it seems like the right opportunity, and it seems like you're dealing with genuine people, you work for free and you pour your heart and soul into it. Try to structure yourself a back end. Like, yeah, I'll do this for you for free this time. But if it performs XYZ, right? If we share accurate data and it achieves benchmark, I would like something in return for my time. That's just fair. That's good business. What do you think? Who's going to say no to that, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's free at the outset, try to structure something for yourself, but then don't ever do it a second time, right? Oh, it was phenomenally successful. I'm going to need you to do one more on spec, right? The tape heads. You remember that movie with
Yeah.
Like, that was great. That was fantastic. I can't do anything with this one, so I need you to do one more, and you're going to do it on spec, right? Don't ever do it a second time.
Yeah.
If you got to do it one time to get yourself in the door, try to structure a back end, but like don't let yourself get taken advantage of. That's bad vibes. Like, and what person in a position to write a check would ever ask somebody who was successful on spec to do it a second time? That's a shithead. You don't want to deal with that person. Move on. Try somebody else.
Yeah.
And now you have a result. Now you have a little bit more for your portfolio, so you're not going to have to do it on spec the second time around.
I think a lot of the people watching, the people that are like trying to get jobs, people that really are very concerned about getting paid for their labor. I don't think they realize the power that they actually have, which is we're hungry for good copy. Like we're hungry for somebody who actually can do this work because it is so, not only is it so rare to find somebody who can actually do it, it's even rarer to find somebody who can do it well. And one of the things that I try to and want to encourage people to think about is the fact that you can work for free, but there's a way to structure an offer, and you don't want to pitch people free work because free work just feels like work for me or work for you. But free work with an offer attached to it, something that feels like a no-brainer, something that feels very specific, something that feels like there's risk reversal to it. Well, then I'm actually enticed by that.
Yeah. Yep. That's the architecture that we were talking about too. Like if you structure like this, you're not doing this necessarily in that like 3 to 5 sentence pitch that we talked about a few minutes ago. But if we're having further conversations, things start to progress, right? And I'm going to ask you relatively early, what's the pricing look like on this? What's available? I don't, nothing major. I can't think of an example where I ever had someone do a full project on spec. That just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
But small stuff, and it's like, let me send you a couple emails, and if you use one of them and it performs right, I throw somebody $500 or $1,000. That's happened in the past years ago. But yeah, like stick up for yourself. You're never in the wrong, genuinely, and be a professional about it and present yourself the right way. But you're never wrong putting your own interests on the table as well, right? And anyone that you want to do business with is going to recognize that. And yeah.
So this might actually be tipping your hand. If you don't want to answer this question, you don't have to. And I can actually give my answers to this as well. For a new copywriter, they just submitted to you a lead. They say, and you really liked it, and you really like this person, you're vibing with them, and you are willing to pay them to finish the lead and actually deliver the project, freelance. What is your price? What is the amount of money that you're actually willing to pay that person? What does that deal look like to you on average? And you can give a range too.
New?
Brand new.
10 to 12, 10 to 15 at 3%.
for
I'm talking about in myself in past chiefing. That's not a solicitation for offers of at this moment. That I want to be clear about
Yeah.
that. But no, and recently enough that the numbers are valid for today, right?
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
yeah.
10 to 15, and with, on 3 points on Backend.
I actually just paid somebody $10,000 for a launch package, an evergreen launch package. That is certainly not as sophisticated as like a typical like Agora launch, and so it was just 10K flat. But yeah, for me, like anywhere in that like 5 to 15K range, plus like 1% or $1 on the front end. Yeah, that feels right for me.
And we've talked, and it depends too how I'm feeling out the situation. If it's going to take a ton of oversight, and I know that it's going to be like we're on the lower end,
Yes,
because that's more work, right? So why wouldn't I just save the money and do it myself if I'm going to end up 80% of the package? But I need it done, so that's lower end. But if everything that you sent so far is really clean, you've got a great handle on the idea. We've already had some really productive conversations. You can go higher because I want to be invested in your success. I want you to be successful because that means I'm successful. And then we're laying a good, strong foundation for doing future business together, right? Why would I try to be cheap with you now, right? Exactly. I mean, you get it. Yeah.
I know the answer to this, but they don't, I don't think. How much would you pay somebody freelance to write financial email copy?
I personally would not pay at all because I generate my today, then, I mean, anytime. Like I know what the email looks like. I know a CTA structure that works for us. And again, I'm not talking about today's business. I'm talking about throughout. It's like there's no again, twists and turns aside. There's no upside for me to pay for emails because you're not going to reinvent the wheel, right? You're not gonna blow away any possible email structure that I could just pull from and use. So no, I'm not paying for that.
Yeah,
Is that the wrong answer?
No, that's the correct answer. No, one of the things that, again, like I'm trying to ask you questions where like I tell people this stuff and people, they listen to me, but they don't hear me.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, you got a lot of followers, so somebody's paying attention. That's good, yeah.
But what I'm trying to get out of you is basically just corroboration for a lot of the things I say, which is like, we're basically in the same range for like what we would pay for a package. And we're basically giving the same answer, which is like, no, we're not going to pay you for your shitty financial email copy. Like we don't need to.
Yeah.
We know where the actual gold is in the mountain, and it ain't in the emails.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, in any business, like they have templates locked in, and it's I can do this, and then if I do this here, and then it's a pretty snap. Okay, then the GIF goes here, and that type of thing. So, yeah, you're not gonna come in off the street, reinvent the wheel, and blow me away with some email that no one's ever seen before. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. So let's take another break, and unless you want to continue on with that.
Real quick, I had a writer reach out to me. All these things that I've talked about, he had very little experience, and he reached out to a bunch of people. I later found out that I was part of a wide. He probably talked to you too. Did everything right. Email was great. The ideas were clean. I just didn't have a home for him. I didn't have a place for it. I didn't really have the product for what he was pitching. So it wasn't going to be a match. But we talked, we did a Zoom call. I gave him a bunch of books to read, and it was like vibes, right? I got such good vibes from this guy. I find out he ended up working with Evaldo and did a huge package and cashed, did fantastically well in the list. Those are the people that I want to see succeed, It's a great kid, super smart. And, the things that I'm talking about, I'm not saying like in a perfect world. Like I'm talking about, this is based on emails that you and I receive on a daily basis. And I've seen enough of them that I know, I have a pretty good sense of like, even if I can't do something with you, you're going to be successful somewhere else. And, quite often those are the people that truly make it.
One of the things that you brought up when we were first talking about having you on the show was you feel that there has been, well, how should I say, a pernicious and misleading sentiment out there in the world about what copywriting even is. And when we talked, like you got really heated about it. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that here on the show, because it seems like you were, how do I say, aggravated about some of the stuff that's out there in the world right now, especially when it comes to copywriting.
Connecting to me the game is connecting enthusiasm, opportunity with action, right? And that applies to, like I said, golf, financial, anything anybody does. And when let me back up. So there's that. There's that, and then there's a focus on the customer. There's a focus on consistently, deliberately, and relentlessly providing true, actual benefit. Right? You did a piece recently on benefits and features. Like if you don't understand. See, this is where I start to rant because
I want you to rant.
I go to the other side, and I was like, if you don't, that's right.
No. So part of our brand is tough love. So please just let loose, because otherwise I'll have to be your angry translator.
Yeah, no. If you don't understand the actual, not the implied benefit, but the actual user benefit of what you're selling and how you're positioning it, and being accurate and. I mean, it don't work for shitty products too. That's another thing. Like if you find yourself in a trap where you're like, I don't know how I can research my way around this question mark in this offer, stop working on that offer. But no, it's about connecting. It's about connecting enthusiasm and opportunity to action. Like this is the step to take to solve your problem, right? To increase your financial freedom, or to have a better golf swing, or to grow hair on your head, or whatever, right? Like that's.
I feel like that one was a personal insult.
No, sorry. My hairline is receding too. So, that's it. That's the game. It's not complicated. It's not persuasion. Is not fucking rocket science. You know what I mean? Like, be genuine. Right? Establish rapport and credibility in your authority. Right? Parlay that into a complete explanation of the benefits and why this could be useful to me if this is something that I've already decided through how you've structured your argument. Could in fact be useful to me, and then make good on every promise that you've made in the course of making that argument, reverse the risk, right? Make an 11-star offer, take it all the way, right? Right? All these things. And if you do all that and it's perfect and it looks great and you know that it's all completely honest and truthful and it works, you're a copywriter, right? If you can cut corners, if you cheat the game, right? If you try to, right? And it works, you're a shithead.
So talk to me about that, though. Like, expand on that for me. Like, what are some of the actual things that you've seen? And I know you've seen shit. What have you seen that you would just like point to and be like, that's what we don't want in this business? That's what if you are trying to be a copywriter and you're doing stuff like that, you should just go be a ditch digger, because get out of here.
It's just not to say anything specific, but a lack of truthfulness, a lack of there was a Supreme Court case. Was it People versus Larry Flint? Right? The justice on the Supreme Court said, I can't tell you what pornography is, but I know it when I see it, right? And anybody with any length of exposure to the industry or, any niche, I'm not talking specifically financial. Like, we know it when we see it, right? Like, man, they're pulling out all the stops here on persuasion, but the proof is mighty thin. That leads me to believe that this offer might be bullshit, right? That's things like that. Like, there's a little flags that go off, things like that. And I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I like to sleep at night. And I don't have any patience for it when I see it. I want to be as far away from that kind of stuff as I possibly can be.
Yeah. And
I know everybody, one way or the other, feels that way too. I mean, that's good. That's good for everybody. It's good for the industry.
I want to sort of like angle you towards specifics a little bit, because I know you're trying to avoid specifics. Because I want to specifically say, like, hey, you don't do this. Because like a lot of the people that are like just starting to like learn what copywriting even is, they need dad to come in and be like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so what are some of the most egregious things, like the things that you've seen in packages that make you go like, no, like, get this shit off my desk and get the fuck out of my office?
If you take a 65-year-old retired school secretary and offer her high-level, multi-million-dollar real estate investing, and how you can begin to leverage multifamily units with zero money down and build a real estate empire, right? That's not appropriate. And again, I understand that we don't control necessarily who clicks on what and targeting and traffic sources. I get all that. And again, I'm being a little bit hypothetical, but you can kind of see where I'm going. If you're purposely targeting traffic that isn't suitable, capable, in the goal of making a first sale and ascending that person partway up your funnel, knowing that they're never going to ascend all the way to actually buying multifamily residential units, that's not a service to that customer. The flip side of that, which I recognize, is that there's entertainment value, there's education, right? People buy things for different reasons, which we're also not in control of. I understand that. But you should, and that's also not customer first, because you're not doing the work first where you're like, you know what, I want to work with high net worth people who've already invested in real estate. Maybe they flipped a little bit in the last couple of years and they're looking how to take it to the next level. That's my target. Okay, you go sell to those people and you don't sell to 65-year-old retired secretaries. So but that's a more complicated thing, right? Mm-hmm. So just promises that are completely outside the bounds of reality and possibility. Let's just say that as a blanket statement. You shouldn't do it. It's no good. You can build a business, but you can't build a robust, long-lasting business. Period. End of sentence.
To translate what Aaron just said for everybody watching right now, don't promise people $10,000 a month from your shitty, stinky, pew copywriting course.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. This
Don't
would be a perfect time to tell you about my copywriting course.
Oh, please! It's time for the plug.
No, I'm kidding. Go. Yeah.
No, it's one of the things that I've noticed about the good people in financial is, like, we understand, like, we're in sales, like, we're here to sell information to people.
Yeah.
But also there's a hard line when it comes to integrity.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I am proud of when it comes to this business that we're in is the fact that the people with integrity, like, very quickly try to weed out or at least push out the people that don't have it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I was talking about earlier about all the way down to, like, cold pitches. How are you going to present yourself? How are you going to present the research that you've done? How are you going to present your ideas? And how are you going to display the benefits that you can bring to the business? And there's a high integrity and a low integrity way to do that kind of stuff. So I hate the pitch emails where it's like, if you're interested in dramatically increasing the bottom line of your business, we need to talk before Thursday, because I have several other publishers on the hook for extra, stuff like that. I'm just like, yeah, no, we're not going to have a conversation. Yeah.
So taking a sort of like hard left turn then, because as we've been talking a little bit, you've mentioned a few things along the way that I want to sort of like back up the truck and explain for people here. Mm-hmm. What for you is an 11-star offer? What for you is a good offer, especially for financial, but just in general for an info package?
People buy personality. People buy closeness to the guru. This is Rich Sheffrin.
Yeah.
Take me to the top of the mountain. Give me an 11-star offer for me in today's environment where we're at. Give me unique, bespoke access to the guru, to the ideas, to how he creates the ideas. We don't have to take 500 people to St. Louis and put them in a ballroom and, like, show them, right? There's other ways to go about it, like guided, like, correctly executed AMAs, these things. Chat features, different things that are available on different platforms for fulfillment sets now. I'd like to see more of that used, because the guru creates a lasting access to the guru, top of the mountain, touch the robe with the guru, creates a deeper, longer lasting connection. That's how you build a tribe. That's how you get people who would follow you to the wall and then go over it with you. I mean, all these techniques are the things that we strive for. The editor, the guru, the product owner, the service provider, however you want to put it, regardless of the niche, access and proximity means so much. So that's a basis for an 11-star offer. We have to figure out how to do that. Bonuses and gimmies and unexpected benefits, right? Early, midstream, late in fulfillment cycle. So that's surprise and delight. That's here's what I thought I was going to get, but what I'm actually going to get for the same price is so much more. It's so much deeper, right? If you don't have a fulfillment team that can help you brainstorm and come up with ways to continue to surprise and delight, like go get a new fulfillment team. So what else? Doing exactly what you said when on the original offer, in the close, when you do your hero shot, and here's what you get, and here's when you get it. That's got to be 100%. Like you can never betray my initial buying impulse with anything less than exactly what you said I was going to get, right? So that goes back to results, the question, right? Like take a look at your closes and that, so like are you actually doing exactly what you say on exactly the timeline that you provide? Stuff like that. So you roll all that together, and then the 100 other things that go along with an 11-star offer, and you're in pretty good shape.
Awesome. Few more of these.
Yeah.
What are some of the ideas that just really grab you? Just like they grip you by the short and curlies and go like, hey, you need to read me.
Yeah, I've always been. I love that question. That's a great question. I've always my bias has always been towards super direct. I had a lot of success with, and I love proclamation style headline structure. Here's my background, here's my experience, here's a quick statement of my authority, here's who I had lunch with, here's the major media that I've appeared in. And today, for the first time ever, for XYZ reason, I'm stepping forward to declare, or so-and-so is stepping forward to declare, boom, right? Punch, slap, like hit me with your hip, like let's not fuck around with, like come at me right out of the gate as quickly as possible, as directly as possible, as forcefully as possible with the meat of your idea. Then take a step back, all right? But first, before we get into that, open looping, right? Let's doing that. Like we were talking about comedy before we started going, right? Like go watch I love just watching clips and shorts on YouTube of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle has the best open loops going in comedy right now. Like it's one of the reasons why he's so funny is because he can take that the 4 times I met O.J. Simpson joke and break it out over an hour and a half show, right? And then do the fourth part as the encore. If you don't understand the structure, right, back to the architecture that we were talking about earlier, if you don't understand the structure of how to stretch an open loop over 10, 15, 20 pages, right, with your best idea, part and parcel to your golden thread, right, to be able to focus my attention in the headline and lead and then pull me all the way using the future pacing and those open loops and these things. If you don't understand those fundamentals, your offer is not going to be as strong as it could be. So I see really good open loops. I see great proclamation style. I see, like, I love ahas in copy too. Like you might think, you might have been led to believe that because of XYZ, ABC, when actually, right? I love that. That gets my head nodding along, and I'm like, okay. Not only are they going to get another 20 seconds, they're going to get another 5 minutes because I want to see what else they have going on here. Yeah, stuff like that. Just good street level mechanics of like being engaging, telling a good story, like just pulling me along.
What is your favorite headline complex that you've ever seen over the course of your career?
Oh, good Lord.
Either one that you've written or one that you've read.
I won't say one that I wrote. I have an ego. I definitely have an ego, but it don't work like that. John Carlton's one-legged golfer.
Really?
I just talked to him recently. We were catching up, and every time I talk to him, I'm like, it was golf copy, but it's a meatloaf of a headline complex. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But it's like he's got back problems. He can barely move. He's on one leg, and he's driving the ball further than ever before. It's direct. It's a very packed with intrigue and curiosity. 4 U's, Mark. But like I'm like, holy shit! I'm not gonna read this. You know what I mean? Favorite headline complex? All the classics. The stuff that's in the Big Blue AWAI book, right? The Tale of Two Men, Wall Street Journal letter. That they laughed when everybody says the same fucking things, I'm sure, but they laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play, what great curiosity, in that, I love those. I came up on those classics. Like that was how I began to think about what was possible in headlines, Yeah, I love that classic stuff. There's a lot of really good proclamation-based headlines out there. You see it in like summit-style VSLs, Like, oh, so-and-so with urgent breaking bulletin, things will never be the same after April 14th, and that's why we need to gather, and reveal all the details at 7 p.m. on Thursday. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, too, just because it has that, it feels like it has news value in it. There's something that's going to be uncovered here. Whether or not I buy, if I participate in this event, I'm going to walk away educated. I'm going to walk away with something that I didn't have before. I love stuff like that. I said this recently, too. I don't think we need... in financial, we don't need the 490-second trading systems, when the green check crosses the red line, and that's out there, and that stuff works, and it's valuable. I just don't have any fucking interest in reading that headline again. So that's me.
It's funny that you mentioned that. One of my favorite headlines of all time is actually a declaration. It's the Shah Gilani, "I'm done with stocks."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, and you're like, wait, he's a baller. Why would he be done with stock? Wait a second. Okay,
Yeah.
now I got to find out, right?
Yeah.
That's a good proclamation. You're like, what? Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll give you a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on from headlines, what are some of the best individual pieces of proof that you've seen like deployed in an actual sales letter? Like what is a piece of proof that like just tip you over the edge and be like, holy shit?
Show me that you, the guru, show me that you have been in proximity with or are endorsed by or are friends with people that I feel have unimpeachable credentials themselves. There's a Chaikin Analytics page a couple months ago where in the lead, Mark Chaikin, there's a screenshot of him with Jim Cramer. There's a screenshot of him with Charles Payne. There's these pictures, and there's a quote box too of his accomplishments. You got like the gray-haired pilot vibe, seeing him, and you're like, Jesus, he knows Jim Cramer. He's like shaking hands with Jim Cramer, and then he's on Charles Payne's show. Say what you will about those guys, whatever, but like those are the biggest names in mainstream financial news and opinion. And you mean to tell me that Mark Chaikin runs in those circles? He knows those guys. He's respected by those guys. Okay, that's media proof. Like then there's like social proof and testimonials and these things. But show me that your creator, your idea, your guru, your editor, however you want to frame it, show me that they are widely respected and that they come to me, to this offer today with credentials that stand head and shoulders above anybody else that might be in my inbox.
Nice. So to translate, clout, show clout.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like there's a right way and a wrong way to go about that, right? If you have to fudge that or you're, that's bad. That's bad. That's what I'm talking about when I say bad practice. But if you have it, God damn it, it's got to be in your letter and it's got to be up top because that's how you put your foot down and you establish that authority right out of the gate. Yeah.
One of my favorite ways to prove out an idea is to actually show, and you have to have the right guru for this. And so James Altucher was actually the best for this because you were able to show those like the pop clout, like, hey, I have been with this person just, because of his podcast. He had the ability to just like wheel and deal and move around with all these circles. Yep. But he also had the academic side too. And I remember I was working on, and this is the best package that I've ever done. And I was the first copywriter working for Altucher who actually found a paper that he had published and presented at an AI conference in like 1991. And I was able to say things like, I literally have been at the forefront of AI for 30 years.
When was that package?
This was my 7-day stock market glitch package.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was in like 2019, 2020.
You got to dust that shit off. That's got to come back. Is that in the new Altucher that's out?
No.
What are they thinking?
No, I mean,
they're doing tens of thousands. They don't care.
I know. And like as soon as Matt Inslee calls me, I'm going to take that call. But like,
let's call him right now. Matt, call Sean. He's got an idea for you, Altucher. You guys probably already know about it, but we got to get moving on this.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I actually, I was talking to Noah. You can edit all this out if it's boring. But I was talking to one of either the media buyers or some marketer who like was trying to come up with ideas for Altucher because they weren't selling Altucher for a while, in like 2022, 2023, thereabouts. And I was just like talking to this media buyer who was with Paradigm, and I was like, AI is about to start really hitting. You've got to like dust off Altucher and put him back in the ring. Like, because that is going to start selling in a big way.
It's a good call. They did. They listened. Yeah.
Somebody listened. Either, that person, didn't listen or somebody else had the same idea. So either way, I can't take credit for that. But like, thank fucking God they did.
Yeah, that's great. That's what sticks out to me in that example that you just give is doing the research, doing the work. You got to a place that no one else had. And that was the key piece and the thing that, he was talking about AI is, all the way back in 1991 or whatever. That's fantastic. And when I was talking about like this package back in the day with like Patrick and Ray, sometimes it would seem like an inconsequential conversation. This doesn't matter. And then they would just say something and I'd make a note. And then 2 hours later, I'd Google it and that would send me down a road. Like that's the type of work. That's what I'm looking for. Those are the ideas that, those are the ones that it just jumps off the page.
So on that note, I actually want to share because a lot of people really struggle with the research for copywriting and like what makes good research. And I actually heard a story secondhand about you and Ray related to that, which is that in an offhand conversation, Ray Blanco mentioned that he had cancer and overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
And up until that point, no copywriter working for him, writing about biotech or trying to sell biotech stocks, had mentioned the fact that he had he had skin in the game when it came to biotech.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result of this discovery, this piece of research that finally, after years or months or whatever, came out, like copywriters now, like they fully endorse and fully use all that information that they discovered about him. But like no copywriter until that point had really like uncovered that about him.
Yeah. Yeah. I was good at that. I was good at like, let's forget about the business. Let's forget about the product. Let's forget about the project. Let's go have dinner. Let's go have a couple beers. Right? Let's talk, right? I'm going to talk about myself. I want to learn all about you, like getting to know a new editor, onboarding a new guru, you know. And like, why are you doing this? You have all this expertise. You have this huge skill set. Why are you in financial publishing? What is it about? Like, number one, are you really sure you know what it is we do here, right? And how much work this is, and the ongoing, like every fucking month, you got to come up with a banger idea, and it's got to be 12 pages, and it's got to go out, and you have to watch everything, and like there's people here to support you, but this never ends. The publishing of this aspect is like a newspaper on a slower schedule, and everything that we did in the past doesn't matter. Shit like that. Right?
It's Sisyphusian.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're in for that? Okay, well, why? What is it about you? Right? And not like this exactly. I'm a little bit softer about it when I do it, but yeah, and like, you know, Ray and I, we worked together and we were associated through Patrick for a while. And then one day it was like, you know, he's not there. And then I come back and it's like, build something with Ray. And I had done all that work. And I was like, we have a shorthand. We're ready to roll. We just need the right idea at the right time, and we can make something happen here. And, you know, Ray and, you know, everybody else in the business, you know, I never did anything by myself, like so collaborative. But, you know, we got rolling with Ray, and it was just like, it was the best thing ever. It was so much fun.
So we've talked about ideas, and we've talked about what you are looking for at various parts of a sales package. What are other sort of unnamed things that you look for in a piece of copy? Like if a junior or a newbie is pitching you with a piece of copy and it checks all the boxes. They have the architecture of persuasion. The copy is clean. They're able to open loops. They're able to tell a story. They're able to provide proof that's not only unique, but also compelling and believable. They're able to make an offer. What's missing from that equation? What is, you know, the sort of je ne sais quoi aspect of what you are looking for in a piece of copy?
Freshness. Have I seen this idea expressed like this recently, which is a mark against its ability to work? Because I mean, we want to be in the tide of mass desire, but we also, there has to be a uniqueness to the angle, to the hook that we have here. You know, could the timing be right? Is it a copycat of something that worked maybe phenomenally well 6 or 8 months ago, but has been falling off? Like, do I, you know? So there's like the timing and rightness aspect like that. Like, do we have that right? Getting, and again, the writing matters less than the other factors, but getting in close enough proximity to the actual voice of fulfillment that the editor uses on a daily basis, right? Because we don't want to create a disconnect that way either. Yeah, it's like it gets smaller and smaller what you're looking for as you go down that list. But yeah, all the way down to just like, and again, the writing matters until it doesn't. But clean, punchy prose, like don't no purple prose, no $12 words. Like you talk like the editor talks, and that's different. That takes some time to learn. So, yeah, and then everybody has to be comfortable with it. The editor has to be comfortable with it too. And sometimes they're going to change their mind at the last minute, and then we got to make adjustments, or maybe he wants this moved, or and being able to roll with the punches, right? Especially for a junior, being able to make up that Mike Tyson thing, right? Everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. Being able to make a plan, set a structure, get on a timeline, and then midstream have everything change remarkably, and still being able to meet the deadline because we have all these back-end processes lined up that depend on this copy being due, or through approval or whatever, by such and such a date. So for a copywriter to be adaptable that way too, that's huge. We're going to need that.
Nice. Yeah, one of the things that I always suggest to people is that we talked earlier about vibes, but what are vibes? A big one is just the sense that you're going to be easy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to work with a fucking prima donna.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to work with somebody who's going to yell at your media buyer or yell at your editing team because they changed like one of the details of your promo.
I call that headache minimization. That's the business that I'm in, is headache minimization. So onboarding somebody or dealing with a freelancer, I'm kind of like, there's a mental scorecard running in those early conversations, right? And are you a headache in the making? Are you already a headache? Or are you going to be a headache minimization for me? And I know that, I'm going to be there. I want to support you and help you get that idea across the finish line. But are you going to cause problems, or are you going to be easy to work with? Like you just said, yeah.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I actually do have a question from a viewer about headache minimization.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask this question because it's actually related to my own experience working at Agora and with financial publishers and stuff like that. How can copywriters work better with the marketing team, with the editorial team? How do they become a better team player, or should they?
In-house, embedded in the business, or as a freelancer?
Either way, but okay. I'm speaking specifically in-house.
Okay, specifically in-house. How does a copywriter be a better part of the team across all the functions of getting a promo from idea to market?
Yes.
Right. Be responsive, communicate well, be respectful, be truthful, be diligent in your work, meet deadlines. Communication is big too, and responsiveness, because you always get in that kind of like crush where everybody's doing 5 things and we got to hit Thursday at 1 p.m. But, and then it's like, well, we haven't heard from the copywriter since Tuesday, 4 p.m. But wait a second, but we need this and so being responsive, communicating well. When the schedule is out there, the project schedule is out there. Like there's people whose livelihood is dependent upon making sure that we go down that list in a sequential way. And if you're the writer and you're off pace with how that's progressing, that's bad news. So I don't want to say follow directions, because we're not a big like follow directions kind of industry, but like be available and listening for when it's time for you to stand up and deliver, you're ready to go.
I think that's all extremely good advice, based on my own personal experience and what I've seen from people. But let's talk about that from the idea generation side. Mm-hmm. What can a copywriter do better when it comes to working with marketing or working with editorial and fulfillment on the actual like idea generation side and brainstorming?
This comes from Brian Kurtz, but over deliver. Ask Mark, what do you need? What do you need to make this project successful? We got a cold traffic strategy, and we're going to do ad sets over here, and we're going to do this is what we're going to need to satisfy our affiliate agreements. And what do you need from me? Okay, and then I'm going to give you twice as much. I'm going to give you options and variability, and you're going to have more testing firepower at your fingertips than you ever possibly could have imagined. What's the best scenario you guys have had in the last 12, 18 months where a copywriter went above and beyond and kept you guys packed with fresh copy, fresh assets? Okay, and then go do 50% more than whatever they tell you, right? As a marketer, I now love you, right? Because there's never going to be a Wednesday 4 p.m. Oh shit, I got to get a new ad set, right?
Yeah. Oh, I just have the 5 original space ads, the 3 original emails, and that's it.
Yeah. So the flip side to that is with a freelancer, like it's not even worth. I mean, be friendly, be communicative, these things, but it's not worth all that effort to build them into a team and then calls and don't forget all that. So yeah, the freelancer, it's like I need 5 of these. I need the welcome letter. I need the fulfillment set, whatever you're going to be a part of or not, and then shut the fuck up and stay out of the way. If we need anything, we'll be in touch, right? So from a freelancer's perspective, then when I come back to you and I'm like, we have a success on our hands. Now I'm gonna make that second ask, and we're gonna go down the road that way. But yeah, over deliver. I don't like. They would. This was years ago too, but like there would be like a working back end, and it would be like we need 2 or 3 new lifts today. Mm-hmm. I'd write 6 or 8 just to play with the idea and see, and 4 or 5 of them I would send to need 3. I would write 6 or 8, and I would actually send 4 or 5, and I would be like, hey, if you can A/B this one, or you can slide this one in for me, I'd really appreciate it, And they do, like, because that's the marketers. And then we have an A/B result that we split it, and we did a smart test. We took a shout this way, and we did a nice test, CTA or whatever over here, and this one unexpectedly gave us a result that was really impressive. Okay, well now we know something, right? Then marketers live for that shit, so help them.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I've tried to impress upon people is that marketers are nerds and they are looking for data.
Yeah.
And so you as a copywriter,
it's funny that you mentioned that. I was just having a conversation recently. Do you know what one of my favorite words is that I hear from marketers?
Verisimilitude?
No. That's a good one. I like that. I haven't heard a marketer say that in a while. Experiment. It means testing, right? We're going to do this versus this. We're going to test. But there's something so romantic about a marketer being like, I have an idea for an experiment. Would you like to help me with this? Now okay, what is the hypothesis to this experiment? Okay, I'm being cute about it, of course.
Yeah.
But like, that means to me that I'm working with a marketer who wants to learn something, who wants to move the needle, and they're right, hey, can we test? It means the same thing. Like I'm saying, I'm just making jokes, but like if you come to me and you're like, I want to run an experiment, will you help me format it? Because here's my hypothesis, and I think when we get the result, the data shows us, I think we might then be able to take this I'm like, oh shit, yeah, great, let's go, Yeah, that's again, that's the juice, that's the fun stuff, those are the conversations I want to be a part of. If we could all just do that all day, what a wonderful world it would be.
3 marketers come to mind who I worked with who were great for that.
Are we naming names? Or are we
I'm going to name some names. Right, so Bridget O'Leary, who's now I think the CMO of Investor Place. Okay. Matt Lazis, who I think went somewhere to Colorado.
Hell of a golfer too.
Really?
Yeah, I played golf with him several times. Good, nice guy.
Yeah. And Jamie Zeller, who is almost exclusively doing YouTube ads and conversion. Like the 3 of them would come to me with like, I have an idea for a renewal campaign, or I have an idea for a new funnel design for this. Yeah. And I just loved writing copy for those projects because you can do a lot of wild shit. And it's like once you are working with somebody who's experimental in that way, and I'm not talking like, having a polyamorous relationship kind of experimental. I'm talking like just like, hey, I want to find out what is actually best for the business.
Yeah, that's a dynamic team. That's the lightning in a bottle when you get it. When you get people in different functions around the business all operating on that level at the same time, you have magic, and you should do everything that you can as a business owner or a person in that business to nurture it and give it the fuel that it needs to succeed. Right? When you get an editor with expertise and passion, and you get a marketing team and fulfillment sets that make sense, and a copy team when you have that, and I've been blessed to be a part of that at moments over the years, and I've seen it in other businesses too, and it's the best feeling. It's the most amazing thing. Yeah. That's what that's what we're striving for. That's what we're all trying to create or recreate, Yeah, God, that's the best. Lazis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember working with him and, Tom, those guys. I mean, it was the altitude and, did stuff with pot and messing around. Yeah, no, yeah.
Good people. We have worked with some good people over the years, and like I've been watching the sort of diaspora from like the fat years at Agora Financial and like what's happened to everybody since then. It's been really cool to watch, man.
Do you know the analogy that I always make for what you just said is like a coaching tree? they're like, oh, Bill Belichick's coaching tree. Here's all the guys who worked for Bill Belichick, and then they went over here and over here, and they coach it. Now this guy's a head coach over here, and he's doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and I still talk to a lot of folks, and no, I miss that.
Yeah. No, like 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, like Agora Financial you felt like you were part of something. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how much of that was because we were as good as we thought we were, and how much of that was because of ZERP? Right? No, I'm making a joke. No, I completely 100% agree. And I catch up with folks. I talk to folks that I haven't talked to in a while. I say the same thing.
Yeah. I it's funny that you mentioned, like, for me, your question, how much of that was because of ZERP? For me, it's almost like an emergent system. Are you familiar with emergent systems?
Probably not.
A bunch of shit is happening over here, a bunch of shit is happening over here, but when they combine together, you get something that's greater than two of the individual things. For me, Agora around that time was, you had all these catalysts, but it was the people that came together at that time who were able to make something that was far greater than what could have normally happened if it was just a bunch of like C or B players.
100%. That's beautifully said. I 100% agree.
Yeah, that was a time.
Yep.
And here we are now in the age of AI.
Yeah. God help us all.
Speaking of
name dropping, when I was catching up with John Carlton recently, and it slapped me in the face. It's so good, I have to repeat it. So we were talking about AI, and I was like, "Are you messing around with this? Are you using it for anything?" And the two words that he put together for me on AI was sterile hellscape. And I was like, on the phone, I remember like I took those two words apart real quick, and then I put them back together, and I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. Like, we were joking, and he's like, but we were talking about what we've seen so far and the potential and stuff, and sterile hellscape. Yeah.
So at the time that we're recording this, we're in the middle of a campaign for Copy That, where we're actually selling our outreach program, whatever. And I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, what are some of the objections that people have right now to like actually trying to like go be serious and try to get into copywriting? And one of them, of course, is AI. Like, everybody's just like, can I even be a copywriter anymore because AI exists? And so what I did was I did a sales email where the subject line was, I hired an AI to write this email. And basically what it did is I signed up for every single AI, like ChatGPT, like, and basically most AI writing tools are just ChatGPT with like a wrapper around it. And I got the most expensive one that I could find. And then I asked it to make a sales email for that campaign. And then the sales email that I wrote was, hey, I hired an AI to write a sales email for it. And I presented the best one that I found from the most expensive one that I got. And I just like had some commentary after that being like, look at what you just read and look at how bad it is. Of course, people still need real human copywriters.
Yeah.
And so just was actually able to show and prove that, like, yes, you can still get a job by showing the results of that sterile hellscape that we're currently entering.
Yeah. Jim Rogers said decades ago, that all parents in America should teach their children Mandarin Chinese, because I think 2030 was his target date. The Chinese would control everything, and Americans would only be able to succeed if a whole generation of people came up being able to communicate in Mandarin. And then 10 years ago, everybody teach your children how to code, because programming is the language in which the future will be written, right? And neither of those things are true, right? So, and I said this too recently, any new advance comes out, adoption cycle, Gartner hype cycle, the way things actually work, everybody vacates the middle and they run either to wildly positive or wildly negative. So last year, it was like, and I'm not going to name names or anything, good folks, but like, use these 3 prompts and you're gonna, right, it's turbocharge your business, your returns, right? It's demonstrably false. Now it's like the initial shine of the early days is off, and now the pessimism is setting in, and it's like, well, wait a second, it's getting stronger, the tools are becoming more capable, like it's getting stronger on a an iteration by iteration basis. oh my God, why would I pursue something like copy? Because it's all going to be done by machines before we know it. No. Get in a business and start learning the mechanics of that business today as soon as you possibly can. And then when X number of iterations down the road, AI is capable of some of these things that people are projecting, like you just said, like the emails are terrible. They sound like they're written by a robot. You know what truly moves people? True human connection and understanding, right? Like emotional hooks, right? Those are the motivators toward interest and action, right? And you can give the machine all the information. The tool can, you can give it concepts, and you can get a return. The problem is, it just doesn't have anything to do with true human connection, which is probably what was represented in that email that you generated. So anybody who's like, oh, the Terminator is coming for copy, maybe someday, but get in a business, get to work, learn, test, experiment, right? And then when it does get here, you're going to be so far up the chain that it's going to be additive for you. It's not going to remove your business. It's not right. Like there will you get far enough out there on the adoption curve, there's always changes that take place, right? There's jobs and opportunities that are eliminated, but that is so much more offset by the jobs and opportunities that are created when the tech advance truly becomes omnipresent and widespread, right? And it was like these people that were like, who was it? Friedman or Krugman, the economist, who was like in 1996, he said by the mid 2000s, the internet would be the wave.
Oh yeah, Paul Krugman.
Yeah, Krugman. Yeah. The wave would roll back, and the internet would be like the fax machine or whatever I'm misquoting him.
Yeah,
and it's like, number one, that's one of the dumbest. Right? Like, why would you quick call a technology like that? But like the internet destroyed jobs, right? The internet took things away, but what it created on the other side, right? Like millions of people. Look, we have we're not writing direct mail packages because exactly, you get where I'm going, right? So for anybody who's watching, where they're like, oh, hey, the specter of AI, and what does it mean for me and my opportunity? Thank goodness it's coming, but you have all kinds of time to learn, to get stronger, to become a part of a business, because it's going to be fantastic. Or it isn't, like Matt Taibbi with Gemini, that piece that he put out just in the last couple of days. Like Gemini's a libel machine because it's being programmed by people who have political. I don't want to get into this whole aspect, but like that's a huge hurdle that's going to need to be overcome with AI platforms as they continue, right? And like we're going to have to solve all that, seriously solve all that before anyone's job is at stake, right?
Yeah.
You got all kinds of time. Like don't panic. Do your study, do your work, find a business, proceed. AI is not coming for anybody anytime soon.
Yeah, the actual writing that I have seen AI affect is the kind of copy that you don't really want to pay anybody to write anyway. Like we're talking like 500 PPC headlines, iterations on the same like three ideas. After you.
Yeah, Dan Steinhardt at the Risk Hedge business that I work with, he put it so beautifully the other day. He was like, do you know what I like using it for? He's like, a piece of editorial. He's like, I have some research. He's like, and I get the prompt correct. He's like, it can give me a really crappy first draft relatively quickly. It defeats the blinking cursor. It defeats the obstacle of getting started, and it gets words on the page. It gets the idea moving forward. And he's like, and then I take it, and then I'm pulling pieces out and that sort of thing. Like, to me, that's a really smart way to use what we have available to us right now. And it's like, let's just iterate on, like you said, 500 different versions of an ad set or something like that. Give me all that information. I'm going to use 4 of them, but it gets you moving. To me, that's like an intelligent way to stay in the middle and not get too high or too low on the whole thing.
I have not been able to use AI for first draft at all. Like almost at all. What I have been using it for is, for the editorial I write, I always include do you use green text for like definitions?
Yeah.
Like old school direct response, fulfillment. They used to call them idiot boxes.
Yeah.
I use it for that. Like whenever I'm just like, I don't want to like think of like a clever, simple way to describe ZERP, for example, or like what a mortgage is or what the S&P 500 is. Like I'll just be like, all right, ChatGPT, like give me a simple definition. All right, now define it, but sound less like a tool. And usually it will actually be able to produce something that's actually very simple and very understandable in that way.
Yeah, no, that's good. But that's like
something that you wouldn't pay somebody for.
Right. We're at like junior summer intern level solutions. Let's put it that way. And how many iterations are we away where it's like, oh my God, like this whole team of juniors, I don't need them anymore, right? That's not anytime soon.
Yeah. I know a few business owners and a couple of agencies that actually did jump the gun and fired just almost all of their writers.
Yeah.
And said, we're going to replace them with AI. They hired most of them back within a year.
The problem with trying to be early is that the first guy through Moneyball, when Brad Pitt, Billy Bean goes to see John Henry at Fenway, John Henry gives him that whole speech about the first guy through the wall on sabermetrics in this case. Bill James had written about it years before. First guy through the wall gets blown to pieces, right? And that was Billy Bean at the time and the Moneyball concept. But like now it's widely accepted and everyone has sabermetrics involved in their team building. But like that business made a decision that they were going to be first through the wall on blowing away employees because right? And guess what? They got blown to pieces, so they had to backtrack and come back to reality.
Yeah.
It happens with anything.
What is Mauldin Economics using AI for? And is it?
Kind of exactly what I just said. Like we're like trying to be additive, playing around with how can it at a very basic level help begin to develop an idea or put an idea in context. So it's been used. It's been used a fair amount in the last 6 months, 8 months, year, I guess, in editorial. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was produced using it that met the reader anywhere close to what was originally generated. Like the example that I gave, like how Dan said he's using it. But you need to be using it to be aware of what it's capable of now. So as it gets better, you can, ascend with it. So I kind of, that's my sense. That's where they're at right now.
Got it. I actually don't know if AI is going to get that much better. And, Bill Gates even said, like, what we're seeing right now, and there was a paper that was actually produced recently where they did a large language model similar to ChatGPT, and they experimented, like, the number of parameters that it currently has versus, like, 980 billion or trillion or what have you. And they found that the way that transformer models, the large language models that we currently have for ChatGPT, the way that those work, additional parameters don't make it that much better. It's asymptotic.
Awesome.
Like it's exponential, like once you get to a certain point, but then it just curves off and then it's just diminishing returns.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be something?
That appears to be the case at this particular point. So like
it's like the fucking metaverse. It's like, and everything that comes down the pike is, and again, like, I mean, there's examples all over the place, but yeah, no, everybody gets all excited, then everybody gets all scared, and then they're like, wait a second, well, this actually isn't the end of the world, or this actually isn't the greatest thing ever, because, again, I don't understand the science behind what you just described, but it makes sense to me. Okay, so now how do we integrate it into what we're currently doing? And again, back to the question of, like, should we be fearful, or should we avoid opportunity if we see it, because these things are coming? Like, what's actually coming, what's actually going to destroy a lot of jobs in copy is the thing that we're not thinking about. It's not something like AI.
We've talked a lot about ideas, AI, how to comport yourself when you're approaching or working with a financial publishing business. Let's talk about applying ideas to other niches as well. Because one of the things that I think financial gets a lot of credit for is that it's a very idea-focused business. And as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, the stream, people don't really have a good sense of what an idea truly is. So I was wondering if you would talk about that because you have experience with selling golf products, for example.
An idea is a solution. An idea is a new way to frame a solution. I'll stick with golf. Were you at the thing? Were you at Kevin's thing in Nashville?
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah.
Was Donnie there?
Yeah. No, I know Donnie.
Yeah. It's the best in the business. Big fan. Love
Donnie French, by the way.
Love everything they do. It's just fantastic content. They have that one that's running right now. I think it's him in the YouTube ad with the swing trainer, and then you click and it's David Ledbetter. That's just amazing. One of the top best teachers of the generation. All right, so in golf, like I'm getting older. I got shoulder problems. I'm losing distance, right? The idea is the solution. Well, with XYZ club or, excuse me, club or training aid, I don't have to do anything else different. Even with my limited mobility, even with my declining swing speed, even with my advancing age, I'm going to be able to hit the ball further, which is going to lead to stacked benefits like the admiration and respect of my buddies on the golf course and, taking money out of their pocket because I'm going to win more matches and then I'm going to feel better about myself and I'm going to play more golf, which means I'm going to get more exercise, which means I might actually lose a few pounds too, right? And all the things that I really loved about golf 25, 35 years ago are going to be available to me again, even though XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
That's an idea. So in financial, it's like this basket of stock, AI, the Altucher that's out right now, right? These AI stocks are going to be transformational for the markets. They're going to continue to prop up the outsized returns that we're seeing, Mag 7, NVIDIA, these other names. And then James has a couple moonshot ideas because he went and he found the small off the radar stocks that no one else is looking at. That's an idea. So is it fresh? Is it current? I begin to play with it and put it into a headline complex. How does it stack up against the 4 U's? Right? And then we begin to beat that up. It's like clay on the table, and you begin to mold that idea into something that's compelling and it's actionable. And then we go into the hook and, well, how are we going to frame this opportunity, right? Yeah. So is that answering your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think about, in financial, like ideas come from editorial. But you spend that $49, spend that $89. Buy the guru that you're interested in working for. Buy their letter. Like it's an investment in the future returns that you'll generate by being successful writing for that person, hopefully. Read all their editorial. You get access to the archives and in these financial products, and spend Saturday afternoons until you feel comfortable that you know everything that they've ever published front and back, right? Take a look at the portfolio. Go to Yahoo Finance and learn every possible thing that you can about every single name that's in the portfolio, right? The management, the institutional investors that are involved. And then you find out that there's this basket of stocks that the 3 or 5 most famous brokerage, whatever, that they're all involved in. They own collectively $40 billion worth of these stocks. Well, if it's good enough for them, well, now we're building an idea, right? Stuff like that. Ideas come from research, and ideas are solutions for the prospect and what they're facing.
Nice. Rapid fire. Favorite books about copywriting?
Great Leads, because I'm in it. Ogilvy on advertising, the Claude Hopkins, My Life in Advertising, all those classics. Caples. There was a Bob Bly book that I read years ago. Eugene Schwartz, Kurtz's Over Deliver. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. I mean, I emailed with him recently too. I'd love to catch up with him. Just all those classics. And the people that have stood the test of time and had so much continued success in this business, anything that they've created, and then the historic masters as well, obviously, those books. I started, they put me behind a pile of books, and they were basically like, don't come out, don't say anything, don't write anything, like go to the bathroom if you have to, but we're not going to talk again until you've read all these books and you can tell us what they're about. That was my first couple months, and I'm glad. I don't know though. I learned that way. Mm-hmm. I understand that there's different learning models. For some people would be overwhelmed, or they would be like, "Oh, this is boring." For me, it was great because I just got to sit there, immerse myself in those ideas, and Great Leads, breakthrough advertising. There's pretty much everything you need to know to get moving is in books like that. Mm-hmm. You can go from zero to beginning to interact with products, and like I said at the very beginning, like go back through your own history of what motivated you to action and shit that you bought when you're trying to figure out how to approach a publisher or someone in a different niche or whatever. Reading those books and using that as a foundation, you're gonna begin to see the techniques that are in play that cause you to take action. Well, then now you just need to refine that so that you can take that forward to build your own offer.
Nice. Favorite books on financial topics?
Too Big to Fail was huge. 2008, 2009 I talk about this all the time. People were probably tired of it. 2008, 2009 had a terrible impact on me. The Big Short. I'm sucker for anything around 2008, 2009 that provides context for what really happened and not who is responsible. You could talk about that all day. Morgan Housel, Psychology of Money. That was a great one. Nick Mazzulli, that guy that said that book, Just Keep Buying. I want to plug my buddy Jared Dillian. He has a book out. He just released a book called No Worries. It's a great blueprint for people looking how to increase their financial freedom without giving up coffee or these like austerity measures that so many financial gurus want people. I mean, Jared's brilliant.
I've been reading Jared since 2014. He's just brilliant.
Yeah, I love him. I love talking to him. We talk on the phone once a week. He calls me out of the blue and like I'm like, oh no, I did something wrong. He's upset about something, and he's like, what do you think about this? And we'll just chat for 20 minutes. No, the book is great. The book's doing really well. He's getting some podcasts off of it, so everybody, you should check out his book. And he's so smart. And that's not a copywriting book. That's a book about like what's true and what's not about the conversations that we have about finance in America today. And given his experience, he has a very unique perspective of like what regular people can do to improve their financial situation without, putting their credit cards in the freezer and these crazy things.
Dave Ramsey shit.
Right.
Yeah, he's on my like bucket list of gurus to write for one day. So I'm a huge fan. So
I'll make an introduction. I mean, you could write something for him pretty soon if you want to.
Yeah, I'd love to. Do you have a working book promo for that book right now?
It's in progress. We're working on a new funnel for him because we just launched a new website for him. He's got a new podcast that he's working. He had a podcast years ago.
Yeah.
I pulled it because he was busy with other things because he does so much. But he's got a new podcast coming out pretty soon. So yeah, we're hard at work. Mike Kane actually, he's doing a lot of work for him right now.
Nice.
Him and Mike, they really hit it off. They got a great thing going. Rachel,
Mike's good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, Rachel, some other folks on our team. Yeah.
So last question that I have for you for this particular interview.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one that everybody has, but nobody knew to ask.
Okay.
You have, over the years, earned the name The Hitman.
Yes.
How did you earn that particular nickname? And why do you think it stuck?
Well, as I understand it, because you don't give your own nickname, right? That just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it didn't come from me. As I understand it, there's two stories. So can I tell them both quick?
Yeah.
Then you tell me which one you think is more compelling. So maybe I'll cut the other one. And then going forward, when I get asked that question, I'll just use
Noah, keep them both.
Yeah, I'll just use the good one. The one story is that I wore black all the time. And because I was so charming and outgoing around the office, and I smiled so much, and I was so easy to read, and I was going through this speaking of Johnny Cash, I guess I was going through this like Johnny Cash phase, and I was wearing black, and like I look like a jerk, and people were just like, "I think he is. He's a hitman. Like, what is this?" So then that's the one theory. The other one, particularly, I think this one is more compelling than the first version. I wrote a string of hit. I think it was actually Mike Pizzo. I wrote a string of hit promos 2008, 2009 into 2010. And at some point, he's like, if you need a hit, he's like, take it to Aaron because he's the hitman. He creates hits. He writes hits. And then so that's how you got Hitman. I want to say that the second version is the true one. And I'm pretty sure it was Mike who said it first.
Nice. And
that's the one that I personally find more compelling myself. Because
I can imagine you preferring that to like being accused of having RBF.
Yeah.
So.
My resting bitch face game is apparently pretty strong because you can't see yourself, but like if it's funny, I laugh. I don't know.
Yeah, there's I think a level of like, especially the level that you got to as a publisher at Agora Financial and like everything that you've done over the years. Like there's a certain level of like stoicism and deadpan decorum that you kind of have in order to manage like all the moving pieces of an Agora business. And, just from like personal experience, like managing copywriters is a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. And so I can imagine like having that particular demeanor just kind of helps the process a little bit too, because then people are not going to bother you with bullshit.
Yeah, no, some months ago when I talked to Kyle on his show, it's really funny that you say that. It was very, for better or worse, as a persona, exactly how you just described it. It was very useful to me over the years. And of course, like when you get to know me and like we begin to build rapport and like, you're dealing with junior team members, I'm not going to do that. Right. Mm-hmm. But like, if I got to get up and talk to a bunch of copywriters and like, it was a useful persona in that it gave me a character to play, which allowed me to just like drop everything else and be like, here's what I need from you if we're going to work together. So in that respect, you're exactly right.
Right on.
Yep.
Well, do you feel like there's anything in this interview that you really wanted to passionately say or a message you want to deliver to every person who's watching about either copywriting or financial copywriting, or even just connecting with customers on a more personal, heartfelt level,
Yep.
what is the message that you would want to give to people?
You can, number one, if you're interested in doing it and you are prepared to work hard, you can do it. I had no background or pedigree for this business specifically when I came to it, and I did okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you're in a business, I think we should spend more time surveying. That's not the right word, but interacting with small and large cohorts of subscribers, asking them questions, and then using that to better inform the offers that we create in the future. Get to know not only your prospect, obviously, but get to know the people who interact with your paid products, because that's going to make everything you do in the future stronger. Other than that, I think we had a pretty wide-ranging conversation. We covered a lot of ground. What do you think?
I think so. I think that there will definitely be ample material to condense down into a 20-minute pod.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, just do the hits. Yeah, forget all that other stuff. Yeah, that's perfect.
Aaron, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Of course, we'll have you back on. One thing I'd love to do is like have actually like a panel of financial copywriters and go even deeper into the weeds than we did.
Love it. That'd be great. I'd love to be a part of that. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you for coming.